Our second reading comes from Matthew chapter 28, starting at verse 1. After the Sabbath, as the first day of the week was dawning, Mary Magdalene, the other Mary, went to see the tomb. And suddenly, there's a great earthquake. For an angel of the Lord descending from heaven came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. For fear of him, the guards shook and became like dead men. But the angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he has been raised, as he said. Come, see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has been raised from the dead, and indeed he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him. This is my message for you." So they left the tomb quickly, with fear and great joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them and said, "Greetings." And they came to him, took hold of his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers and sisters to go to Galilee. There they will see me." Friends, this is the word of the Lord. Now join me in a word of prayer. Risen and rising Lord, author of this new resurrection reality, open our ears to hear your word. Open our eyes to see the possibilities, and open our hearts to you. We love you so much, Lord. All God's people say, amen. So they had seen a lot. They had seen perhaps too much. They had seen more than enough to know what they were about to see next. I'm talking about Mary and Mary, Mary Magdalene, the other Mary, the Marys. They had seen it all go down. You see, they were kind of the opposite of dinos, disciples in name only, They were kind of the opposite of that because they'd been with Jesus the whole time, but they weren't really one of the 12 that were named. They'd been following Jesus for a long time. They're taking care of him and watching over him and helping him, but also learning and growing and stretching and searching. And Jesus, when Jesus set his sights on Jerusalem, they got nervous because of all they had seen and what they expected to see next. First of all, because all they had seen in Jesus, right? Because all they had seen in Jesus, he had so much love and so much joy and so much fierce kindness in his soul. But he also didn't tolerate foolishness very well, especially when it was at someone else's expense, right? Yeah. And so the Marys got nervous about what was going to come next because all they had seen in Jesus, but also because of all they had seen in the world. The world's not always a very loving, joyful, kind place, is it? They had seen so much hatred and jealousy, and people can be mean, especially people who feel threatened. Well, they can borderline on evil, can't they? Yeah, but still, Jesus had set his face towards Jerusalem. He had his eyes fixed on Jerusalem already, and so they watched. The Marys watched, and they got nervous, but they watched, and then they saw all of it unfold. They saw Jesus first arrive on a donkey. That was a pretty fun move, wasn't it? That was pretty funny, Jesus. He was making a point, though. He was making a very sharp point, if you think about it. He didn't need a chariot. He didn't need some victorious war horse. No, he just rode in on a plain old donkey, and still the people showed up and welcomed him like a king. Yeah. Mary's watched as Jesus came in on a donkey. They also watched as the people came out in droves to welcome him in that way. Palms and procession and praise, right? They took off their cloaks. There was nothing hidden in this. They loved him. They were so excited to see him. To welcome him like that. And so the Marys watched all of this unfold so plainly, and it was out in the open, but they also watched the slightly more subtle reactions of the leaders. Good leadership displaces bad leadership. We know this, right? But oftentimes bad leadership doesn't like to admit that they're bad leadership, right? Yeah, sometimes they cling with all their might and they fight to stay grasping to that power and they plot. The Marys saw all their side-eyed glances of those leaders as Jesus rode into town. The Marys saw all their whispers amidst the hosannas. The Marys saw their heads nodding in the shadows, those leaders. And then they saw things speed up pretty quick after that. They watched as Jesus tossed and turned some tables in the temple that next day. And they also watched as the other leaders tossed and turned with this vitriolic disdain deep within them, right? Then the Marys watched as they tried to trap Jesus with a question about taxes, and then they tried to trip him up with a question about the resurrection, which they didn't even believe in. And then they aggressively asked him to summarize the whole law right here, now, in front of us. Go, Jesus. The Marys watched as Jesus answered all of them, as Jesus silenced all of them. And Jesus could have left it at that, right? But he didn't. The Marys watched as Jesus added, and woe to you, you bad leaders, you hypocrites, you blind guides. He says, whoever exalts themselves will be humbled, and whoever humbles themselves. And just like that, the Marys watched as those conspiratorial head nods sank into something more sinister. They saw the look in their eyes. They saw the crowd turn. They saw the trial. They saw the soldiers take him out back. They saw his beaten body brought back inside. They saw the blood. They saw the parade lines form once more. They saw the people come out to watch once again. They saw the chosen route leading all the way up to Skull Hill form. They saw the wooden beams. They saw the hammer and nails. They saw the cross as it was being erected. You see, they were making a point. The leaders in power of that day, the leaders clinging to keep their grasp on that power. You see, they were making a point, and it was a sharp point. And the Marys saw it all. They saw the people, they saw the taunts, they saw the casual cruelty on display. They saw imperial force, they saw the crushing weight of empire, they saw the darkness gathering all around. They saw fading hope and raw pain and bitter scorn. They saw total confusion and misplaced rage and humanity being lost. They saw evil. They saw anguish. They saw hurt people hurting people. They saw him cry out. They saw him breathe his last. They saw him die. They saw that crushing finality. They saw his lifeless body. They saw a sealed tomb. They saw it all. The Marys, you see. They saw it all. That's what they saw this past week. What about you? What have you seen this last week? What have you seen in this world in this last week? Breaking news, war zones, airstrikes, mass graves, civilian casualties, shattered home. Has it been a holy week for you? What have you seen this last week? Market chaos, job losses, mounting debt, housing stress, food insecurity, intensifying inequality. What do you see? I see crazy amounts of anxiety everywhere I look. I see a sense of deep loneliness when I look into people's eyes. I see growing social division. I see grief and dread and fear and regret and shame. That's what I see. What do you see? What do you see when you open your eyes and you actually look at the world around you? But also, how does that shape you? How do you think that affects you? There's a study back in 2013 by a guy named the name of Andy Clark, and he coined the term predictive processing. It shows that our brains are essentially predictive processors using past inputs to anticipate future outcomes. And so it says that our brains are constantly asking what typically happens next and then building our expectations based on our past experiences. And so, what are you seeing in this world, and how do you think that's shaping you and your perceptions of what to expect? It gets weirder. Raymond Nickerson in 1998 wrote a very scary paper addressing confirmation bias. And it says this: we tend to look for and favor information that confirms our pre existing beliefs. So we look for and we understandably understand more, and we tend to remember only the information that confirms what we've already confirmed in our own minds. We don't just see reality, we actually filter our own version of reality. That's real. How are you filtering? What do you see? And how is all of that shaping you? Martin Seligman in 1975 is the one who people point to, who first talked about the dangers of all this. He says, if we tend to see now just what we've seen before, if we see only what we already saw, and if we have more bad than good, if we've trained ourselves to filter out the good and look more at the bad, then Seligman said we experience something called learned helplessness. Learned helplessness. We start to believe that nothing will ever change, everything will always stay this way, and this is simply how it is. Let's throw in one more. Let's go ahead and toss in some negativity bias from Baumeister in 2001. Negative experiences weigh more heavily than us on positive ones when shaping our perceptions, and so bad actually seems stronger than good in our own minds. But then our bias kicks in and it takes over. It shrinks our receptors for good, so we actually see less good. It narrows our view of what's possible, and it slowly disintegrates our imaginations for a better tomorrow. Now, predictive processing, learned helplessness, confirmation negativity biases, these are all from the field of psychology, right? These are all from that field, and that's been around just for a little while, about a century and a half now. Wilhelm Wundt, back in 1879, Germany, began this scientific study of the mind and behavior. So yes, this is kind of newish. It's all a little bit new, but if you think about it, psychology just kind of came from philosophy, right? Yeah, this questions about mind and consciousness, they just kind of added a scientific formula into it to study in a new way. But philosophy, if you think about that, that dates back even further. That goes back to ancient Greece and Plato and Aristotle and all that stuff. And so rather than maybe a century or two, maybe it's been more a millennia or two that we've been struggling with this stuff. But also, isn't philosophy just an expression of our deep human desires and our innate longing for reality and knowledge and meaning, and like, why are we here? And is this real? And what's even true anymore, right? And if you think about it in that way, the people of God, well, we've been struggling with this since the beginning of time. What does it mean to say that we were created good? What does it mean to say that God created the world and called it good? When you look around and see what we see, right? What does it mean to be made in the image of God and to have that placed within us? What does it mean to say that God actually cares about us and for us in this world? Yeah, you see, it doesn't just go back a century or even a millennia. It goes further than that. And when you ask these questions, when you add in the higher power, when you add in a little bit of that, you have theology, and that's what we've called it now for a long time. Psychology might give us new terms, and philosophy might give us a new way to connect the dots from time to time, but the people of God have always wrestled with questions like this. Can God do a new thing? Is there something beyond what we've already seen? Do we believe that things can change for good? Let's go back to Mary's for a minute. Remember, they'd seen a lot. They had seen perhaps too much. They'd seen more than enough to know what they're about to see next, right? Our text today starts out, it says, after the Sabbath, as the first day of the week was dawning, Mary Magdalene, the other Mary, went to see the tomb. They went to see the tomb. They went to see the body. They went to see death. They went to see the aftermath. They went to see the fallout. They went to stare at the ugliness of the reality that we're way too familiar with in this world, right? They went to see that. Because you see, they expected to see what they've already seen, right? They expected to see what they already saw. You can call this predictive processing. You can call this worldly pessimism. Call it whatever you want, but we know it's the truth, right? The Marys went to the tomb that day expecting to see what they already saw. Maybe it was learned helplessness, but what else would you expect? I mean, nothing ever changes and everything always stays the same. And this is simply how it is, right? Yeah, maybe it's just their confirmation bias kicking in, taking them to the tomb. They want to confirm what they already know because hate usually wins and good normally loses, and they assume that all hope was lost. Or maybe it was just them choosing to return to the familiarity of their own negativity bias one more time, wanting to wallow in the sadness because they're so familiar with it just a little while longer, right? This was the seesaw that they were on. They expected to see what they already saw. This was the pattern they had observed in the world. This was the rhythm of their lives until that next moment, right? As they approached, the earth started shaking and the guards started quaking. And this giant stone just started to move. They'd never seen a stone move like that before. That was new. This was something new, right? An angel appeared and took a seat on said stone. They'd never seen an angel before, let alone an angel just sitting smugly on a stone, right? And the angel lit up the dawn sky like lightning. And he had this kind of snow glow about him and his appearance. And it's like he was already on the know about something. It's like he already knew because he turned to the Marys and he said this. Before they said anything, they said, I know what you're looking for. I know what you're expecting to see, but guess what? You're not going to see that. You're not going to see Jesus in there. You're not going to see the body. You're not going to see death. You can come see where he lay if you may. For a while you can stay, but listen to the words that I say because he is not here. He has been raised, for it is a new day. Something new is happening. The Marys didn't want to be contraries, but they were not believing what they were seeing because they hadn't seen it before, right? They never saw what they were seeing, so their mental seesaw was off balance once again. But the angel seemed to sense this also and said, you can look around if you want, but just like Jesus, I ain't lying here. Come on now. If you want to see him, go quickly. Go tell the others. Go to Galilee. Just get going because he is not here. I know this is where you last saw him. I know this is where you expected to see him again. But no, it ain't so. So just go because it's in the going, the angel says. There you will see him. Side note, I love how the angel ends a spiel, right? Text says, the angel says, after he says all of this stuff, and they were just standing there dumbfounded, not moving, not knowing what to do, the angel simply says this is my message for you. It's as if he's saying, message complete, I'm done, I've said it all. Why are you still standing there? Go, right? This is a natural instinct too, though, right? We all know this feeling. Yeah, when we're faced with information of this magnitude, it's like we're frozen sometimes. Psychology, they call this cognitive overload. Philosophy, they call this existential shock. But for us, let's just call it the resurrection effect, right? You see, this is what happens when you first see, when you first encounter, when you first catch a glimpse of this new resurrection reality. Something new is happening. What do we do with this? Here's a question for you. Be honest with yourselves. Did you expect today to be the same as it was yesterday? Did you expect to wake up and expect today to be the same as it was yesterday? Why? Why? People of faith, why? God is on the move. God is acting all the time. God is renewing and restoring and reconciling all things. We are living into this new resurrection reality each and every day. The problem is we've been trained to lower our expectations. We've been conditioned to look for what we've already seen. We've been this homeostasis in this status quo for a long time now, but resurrection says, no, that is not what we're called to be. That is not where we're called to stay. Resurrection says no to that. In fact, resurrection says, go into this new day, go into this new world, go and believe that God is doing a new thing in our midst right now. Go and join in. He is risen, so go and raise your expectations for life. Raise your expectations for this world. Yeah, resurrection says go, and I get it. It's scary. We don't always know what to do when we encounter this new resurrection reality. When we see it, we can be frozen in place sometimes because we haven't seen it yet, at least not all of it. You can't seesaw this one in the same way that you're used to. You don't want to get your hopes up because your experiences have taught you to guard yourself because there is bad and there's negative out there in the world. And I know that we're all biased, and so you bring all that together. Resurrection still says go, though. Resurrection says go because it's in the going that we encounter him. It's in the going we learn what to do in this new resurrection reality. It's in the going that Jesus appears. Don't take my word for it. Don't take the angel's word for it. Don't listen to the Rolling Stones. It doesn't matter. Listen once again to the first words that Jesus speaks into the new resurrection reality. He says, greetings. Do not be afraid. Go. Go and tell my brothers and sisters to go. For there they will see me. Friends, get going. Get going into this new reality. Get going into the resurrection. Get going and tell others what you have seen. Because Christ is risen. He's not in there. So go. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. All God's people say, amen.